So how many episodes is season two in total?
8.
Because I remember when we spoke last time, you were still figuring out that number.
Yes, no, it was figured out. I think 10 became 8 in some sort of streaming. I don't know, but somehow it became 8 episodes, which was good. I think 8 I quite like actually. Between 10, I've done 6, which is too few, but 8 I think is about right. So if you, as long as you have 0 filler, you can do 8.
Yeah, I think that 8 is it's interesting because 8 is it allows you to tell the story, but there generally is no wasted scenes.
Yeah, that's the fun of it. You're really trying to got to make sure every minute counts, so you only have so much time. But I actually prefer it that way than having too much. Then you got to tap.
I totally get it. And as an audience member, 8's a pretty good number. But which of your friends and family are the biggest fans of the show, and who asks you for spoilers the most?
It would probably be my oldest son, who's 11 and who's seen some of the show, not all of the show. He actually knows a lot of the underlying mythology, kind of where the show is going to go, and he is always clamoring for when I'm going to reveal certain things that we have no plans to reveal anytime soon. So he's getting way ahead of it. He's very monster centric as well. He's always trying to push me to put more and more creatures into the show. So we have a lot of that going on as well.
That's funny. I'm wondering how influential his voice is in the writer's room.
More and more so. Yeah, absolutely.
So the first season you made, and I could be remembering this wrong, but it was being made for TBS or TNT. Then it switched to HBO Max. So when HBO Max decided to pick it up for season 2, did they give you additional funds? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I know they, for me, it's just been a continuous thing. I haven't stopped working on the show since we began season 1. So yeah, no, they've kept us up and running, and whatever we need to do what we need to do, and they've been hugely supportive. And then of course, once we got into actually, making season 2, it was in the middle of the pandemic, which we're still in the middle of. So obviously it was a very different experience than season 1 in terms of the logistics of it all. But we got it done, due to the, heroic efforts of our cast and crew in South Africa, during difficult conditions for sure.
I noticed that HBO Max started advertising season 2 when Dune was on the platform. Were you like, oh wow, this is really cool?
I was super psyched about it. Yeah, I know Denis, the director. I made Prisoners with Denis, and I think he made an absolute masterpiece with Dune. And I was so over the moon that they put our trailer at the front of it. I was like, wow, that's so great, so great.
Does HBO actually tell you real numbers, or do they just say you're doing good enough? Here's some money, make another one?
That's basically all I've heard. Yeah, I don't get too. I probably wouldn't be fishing for specifics anyway, because I'm just I don't want to know. I just want to know that I can keep writing.
Sure.
But yeah, they keep it pretty close to the vest, but they'll give you some sense of how you're doing for sure.
In an ideal, I think we talked about this last time, but I'm curious if it's changed. Ideal world, how many seasons would you like this to go?
I think 5 was my original plan, and that still stands. I think you could absolutely tell the story in 5 seasons. It could go on beyond that, but I think, in terms of what's in my head today, what I know now, 5 seasons feels, and that was always kind of the original plan, that it was going to take about that long, to hit, to get to where we wanted to go and to tell the full story. So it's still the case.
I would imagine as you're writing or continue writing, things can get refined. You mentioned to me last time we spoke that you had the very end figured out. Have things like that, like the big things, are they still sort of locked in concrete, or have they been tweaked as a result of maybe where season 2 goes?
It's kind of like, I use this analogy. It's kind of like this house, and you kind of have the basic architectural framework, and that probably isn't going to change. But as you get into that house, and you start making those rooms, and and you start seeing it and you live in it, it starts kind of talking back to you, and you'd be a fool not to listen to it. So I think, and that's part of the great thing about writing TV, versus a movie, is when you're going beyond one season, is you're seeing it while you're writing it, and it just starts to inform the writing, as you're seeing these things come to life, and the context in which you're changes. So you have to let that happen. I think you really, to make the best show possible, you have to keep aspects of it fairly flexible, or at least be willing to listen when it seems like it wants to do something, or a character wants to do something, or whatever the case might be.
Like I said, I've seen the first 3 episodes, but I have no idea what you want to tell people. So a little generic, but what do you want to tease fans about season 2?
Season 2, I think, has a lot to do with, the season 1, we saw the birth of Mother's natural child, this dark serpent child. And I don't think it's spoiling it too much to say that child does survive into the second season. And Mother finds herself in an interesting position where she realizes that she actually feels very connected to this monster, that, no one else knows that where this thing came from except for Father. And it's endangering this colony that she's joined. It's endangering her human children. And yet she's finding that she's not really sure what she's going to be able to do about it. That she is probably the only person who's really positioned to take this thing down. Yet at the same time, she's feeling this connection to it, that it is her caregiving program is basically assigned it in her hierarchy of children, a high degree of importance. So she's quite conflicted in that sense.
If you had an unlimited budget, what would be the thing that you would love to add to the show that perhaps the parameters just can't do, because you know what I mean?
Yes. It's really hard to say, because I think so much of it, and I've really kind of trained myself this way, is, what you can't do is kind of how you build the story around, the whole idea that as soon as you can do everything, all of your ideas kind of go down the drain because it's just too much. It's too much choice, too much. I think when you're kind of locked into a budget and you're like, well, I can only build certain things, I can only show certain things, it actually lends itself to ideas more than I can do anything. What am I going to do? But to your question, which I totally avoided answering, we probably would have done more in terms of the war on Earth and seeing more of that, and which, would have involved a great deal of budget, that we wanted to devote more to the new planet.
Sure. I mean, in season 1, there are sequences that take place in Earth, and I know those are not cheap. No. You mentioned last time we spoke that the plan was to do some more stuff on Earth. In season 2, do we get any more Earth flashbacks, or is that more for season 3?
Probably going to be more of a season 3. Yeah, I think we get more context, and we're definitely continuing on with that mythology, no doubt about it. But it seems like we're not really going to be flashing back to Earth until season 3.
How does it work actually with HBO Max? Because obviously they took control of the show. When it comes to season 2, how much is it you having to pitch the executives on your vision and what you're thinking and laying all that out? And how much, you know what I mean? What's that dynamic like?
Yeah, I think, when it came time, when they told me that they wanted me to start thinking about season 2, I kind of went off and came up with, I had obviously a map for the series, but, season by season, you really have to kind of start building it out in the micro. So I had to kind of, pitch them and give them some sense of what to expect. But, it's not super detailed. It's kind of the broad strokes. So they have some idea okay. And, once after that, then it's kind of, you're off to the races. You're just kind of in it. And they kind of, they're very supportive, and they do give notes, but for the most part, they really just kind of let the show, be what it wants to be, and I think, because sometimes you find yourself, you're writing a show and the network thinks it's one thing and you think it's another, and that never ends well. So I think with this show too, I think having Ridley as a defender of the show and really helping to protect the integrity of it, that there hasn't been much in terms of anyone trying to take us out of our lane or turn us into something we're not. The network's been great.
How much is in the first season? There's the radiation poisoning, which had affected a lot of people. Has that radiation poisoning possibly affected Marcus at all? Or because there is Marcus is definitely an interesting person in season 2.
Yes. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because there is something going on with Marcus for sure. And when he's in the tropical zone, he does find that the sun is having a strange sort of, he's reacting to it almost as if his body is like solar powered in a strange way. He's having these weird sort of reactions to electricity and the sun. So there is something going on there that may have to do with radioactivity. You are onto something there. I can't give it away, but I can say it is to do with something that happened in season 1. That was kind of laid out. And in season 2, well, I guess you'll see. Eventually, it does get revealed why it is that he has these powers.
Yeah, I was going to say he seems a little bit stronger.
A little bit stronger, yeah. There's something going on with him, which of course Marcus believes has to do with the fact that he's the prophet. He thinks these powers are coming from Sol. But we'll find out if that's the case as we get a little further into the season.
Who are the directors for season 2?
Well, you've got Ernest Dickerson, who did the first and second episode. You've got Sunu Ganera, who did 3 and 4. Alex Gabassi did 5 and 6. He actually directed 7 and 8 last year. And we've got Lucas Atlin, who was our producing director, directed 7 and 8. So really awesome directors. And again, really trying to stick with the template that Ridley set up in terms of, the look and feel of this world, and trying to make sure that it does just feel like a long movie, I think, and not so that every episode isn't in some completely stylistic universe from the next.
Have we seen I'm assuming we haven't, but have we seen the last of Mother's Eyes?
I can't say for sure, but I would say no, we have not. I'll go ahead and just spoil that. No, the eyes will. Yeah.
I was going to say it's way too good of a
too good, right? Like, yeah, why tease something that we don't want to happen, right?
Yeah, I know it's too good. So look, obviously, who the hell knows what's going to happen in the future? But hypothetically, would you be writing anything on season 3 right now?
I am. I'm working away on it. Who's to say whether or not it'll get ordered to production, if we'll get to that point? But I have to keep working on it. Because if it does get ordered, I just have to because we have no source material, I have to just keep writing it. So as long as the show goes on, I imagine that's my entire universe. I'm like a method actor. Except I'm a method writer. I just live in this universe, this alien planet. That's it.
Completely. Listen, I already got to go. They're already, they're giving me the wrap up signal, but obviously when the season is over, if it's possible to talk again about the finale and stuff, I would love to do it.
That'd be great. Awesome.
Hey, listen, man, nothing but the best. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And I really can't wait to watch the rest.
Thanks so much, Steven.